and this is a love it or hate it. I did appreciate the creative approach, turning the grabber into Freddy Krueger. However, I'm not sure it fully worked for me. In this film, the grabber, played by Ethan Hawke, makes a comeback. However, this time to explore his past crimes and lay them to rest. I do like that the characters look significantly older, and the film makes an attempt to build on their family dynamic because in the first film, the character development, especially with Finn and his sister, was excellent. I also think that the universe they built feels very unique. Everyone feels like a terrible human being. If hell was on Earth, it's whatever world they've created in this film. My first issue is the way in which the black phone itself is used. In the first film, it felt very natural because the phone was placed in a room where young boys were murdered. However, in this film, they really overdo it. First off, why is there a black phone in the middle of nowhere in a snowstorm? At first, I thought it was a phone that only Gwen and her brother could see. However, I think the phone was just there. I also thought the setting was quite extreme. I think they were trying to recreate The Shining or have that similar atmosphere. The film is strongest when it focuses on the relationship between Finn, his sister Gwen, and they even introduced a new character, Gwen's love interest, who I also thought was really interesting because his brother had died. His brother had been killed by the grabber, and so I thought that would have been an interesting angle to explore, as well as Gwen and Finn's father. I like that they brought him back, and he seems a lot calmer than in the first film, and I think the film really could have done a better job of centering its story around them. I think this film really stretches the original premise. It feels like a sequel to a film that was intended to end after the first. I did think the dream sequences and flashbacks were really well done. I think if the film had focused on Gwen and Finn and tried to use the grabber as a way of reconnecting them with their mother, that would have been a really interesting premise. However, where this movie really fails is with the grabber himself. In the first film, Ethan Hawke feels very real and very terrifying. In this film, he feels like a caricature of himself. Like, this does not feel like the same character we were introduced to in the first film. And rather than add to his character or introduce a new dimension, and I think the film's inability to create any type of fear or tension with the grabber is ultimately what makes the movie feel unnecessary and really flimsy.